Welcome to today's episode of Engineering Success Profile Editions. Today we're joined by Ayo Shokola, who is a chartered civil engineer and a project manager at the Environment Agency. Ayo is also one of the ICE water superheroes, which we'll talk about a bit later on. Hi Ayo, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be on.
It's great to have you, it really is. Can we start right at the beginning? What made you choose a career in engineering?
I actually picked a career in engineering when I was like 9 years old.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I know, it always shocks people when I say that.
Yeah.
I know, it's precocious. I knew what I wanted out of life.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to be one of those people who had an experience in their formative years that, allow them to choose what they want to do, at least one of the tools that they want to use in this life. So, I was growing up in Nigeria at the time. I was born here, but I'd lived abroad, and I just watched an engineering project transform the community there. And I thought to myself, infrastructure and, roads and water and all these things, they build communities and they change lives. I think at that age, I was like, I want to be the kind of person who can make this kind of change, who can be like at the heart of serving people and making people's lives better. And I was like, that's going to be the tool that I'm going to work towards.
Right.
So it was at the age of 9, I chose a career in civil engineering. Well, engineering.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what route did you then take into your career?
So I followed the university pathway. So I knew I was going to do STEM subjects. So I'd done work experience. I think by the age of, 10, 11, 12, I started doing loads of work experience.
Right.
Then, doing courses, but then when it came to actually options and the steps you take, I did the triple science, the math, and then when I went to A-levels, I did maths, physics, chemistry. Right. I dropped further maths at the A-levels, but I did those STEM subjects, and then I went to university and I studied a master's in civil and coastal engineering at Plymouth University.
Okay, yeah.
And then I graduated, and that's how I made my way into civil engineering. Obviously, there are lots of different ways. You can do it by apprenticeships, which are really great because you get it. I don't people don't have to pay any of the student loans or any of that stuff. So that's really
right,
useful.
Yeah.
So that's a way to think about it as well. And then you can do it by, BTECs and other ways. So I think I would say people to go and look at what route suits them best and their own learning style and what they want out of life as well. So
Yeah. So
that's my route. There are lots of different routes.
Yes, there are. Yeah. So you're obviously a chartered engineer now, and your role today is a project manager and a BIM lead. Can you explain a little bit more about what that role actually entails?
Sure. So my day job is I work at the Environment Agency, and the heart of everything we do is to improve things for water, wildlife and people, basically. The two things, wildlife and people. But for me, in terms of being a civil engineer and civil and coastal engineer, if you look at my university degree, I work in the field of water. So that's in flood and coastal risk management. Right. So when I'm a project manager working in flood and coastal risk management, I'm working on projects that allow, new flood schemes, or replaced weir gates or lock gates or beautiful, better assets, or in fact improving the environment and biodiversity. So it's could be such a massive scope of stuff I get involved in, but it's all under the hat of I'm a civil engineer working in this field of water and in flood and coastal risk management. So that's the project management hat. It's working on the contract, stakeholders, the budget, the risk, the commercial, everything that pertains to delivering these projects successfully, on budget and on time, and adding value to the communities that live where we serve. So for my first scheme project that I was managing at a university, the Aberdeen flood alleviation scheme, that protected 5 homes from flooding, but I managed all the things that pertain to that, to now being part of larger schemes today. But another part of my role, like you said, is I've been BIM lead for the Eastern Hub, and BIM is something that's really important to our industry. It's how we can kind of have better information on our assets. So some people see it's better information management is a better way of putting it across. Actually, that's what it's about. I think a lot of people have spoken about it. The IC, Karen Alford, one of our leads in this, she talks about it, the digital twin. So for us, the end goal is that for every built asset, we have a virtual version that allows us to understand the asset, design better without clashes, design with better material use, more efficiencies, but also more information long term for our asset management and maintenance, which is a big thing going forward. I mean, we're not just building new assets now, and I'm sure we're all thinking with climate change in mind, we're not building necessarily everything new, but we're maintaining assets. So that's really important. It's pivotal in, you know, meeting our sustainability targets as well.
Yeah. Can you just go into a little bit more about the BIM, because I don't think a lot of people who are going to listen to this really know and understand. You know, you said about the digital twinning. You know, so that's a really important thing. What is a digital twin? Can you explain what that is?
Well, I guess in the world of engineering, we're used to drawings, 2D drawings, right?
Yeah.
But now BIM's looking at 3D, 4D. I mean, even some versions that have been implemented already have financial information into it, so they can really think about things at that level. But I mean, what we're talking about when talking about a digital twin is basically having these really robust, sometimes virtual models of assets that allow us to really see the asset. I mean, I've worn these amazing VR goggles where you literally can walk around a site that doesn't exist yet. So that also allows us to, you know, have better collaboration. So it's a tool. I think the best way to put it across is these are new digital tools that allow us to design better, to manage better, and to maintain better. But at the end of the day, it's just a tool. But it's a tool that's very effective and has a lot of power. So that's why we talk about it so much in engineering.
Yeah. So for you, what do you find the most challenging part of your role?
I don't know, actually. I've never really thought about what the most challenging part of my role is. I don't know. I really like the fact that everything I do serves the community and it serves people. And I guess sometimes it also has the flip side is I can get frustrated by processes that make things take a little longer. Processes exist for a reason, of course, you know. Systems exist for a reason to sometimes slow things down. So change happens slowly. So you know, it can be methodical, but I'm driven for the outcome. The outcome is the motivator. The outcome is the thing. So sometimes, you know, those long projects that span maybe a couple of years and the outcome is so far in the future, I can be known to get a little bit wiggly, and I just want to get the outcome and the thing that really gets me out of bed in the morning, which is the outcome, not necessarily the process. Though you should enjoy the process also. But I very much love the fact that, you know, first project 5 homes protected, next project 257 homes. I love the fact that it's people. It's about the people and what it means to their communities and their lives. And throughout the process of the project, that's what I try and keep hold of, and that's what keeps me going when we have to face some challenges that slow things down.
So for you, is that the most rewarding part of your job then, the helping the community, the helping the people?
Absolutely. It's kind of the thing that motivates me in general in life. It's kind of the core of my own value system. It's why when I left university, you know, going through the process of finding which job you want to take, it was the key thing in picking the organization I would join. You know, people always want to, you know, have a life that's purposeful and mean something. I think it's really important. As human beings, we're always searching for meaning, right? So I think when you go to work and, like, I know your day job already has such a positive outcome, you're like, yeah, I'm a good person. I tick the box. So that makes me laugh. But that's really important to me. It's really rewarding, and it's not just, you know, people and flood risk. It's the communities. That, you know, biodiversity, not just human communities, but wildlife communities. You know, we often forget about that, but that's really important. You know, and I love that. You know, you design a Neil pass that allows, you know, these not very pretty creatures to make their way, you know, up the Thames, so that, you know, they can carry on with their processes of, you know, procreating and, you know, populating. So I really love that. You know, these may not be the cutest creatures in the world, but, you know, I'm helping them too, and I love that. Or it's natural flood management, you know, which is putting nature in the heart of what we do, like everything from people, wildlife. It's very rewarding, and it makes you feel like I've done a good thing today.
Absolutely. It sounds brilliant. Absolutely, it does. So in 2018, you were one of the ICE President Future Leaders. How do you think this helped your career progression, and what did it actually involve?
Well, I think it was one of the biggest opportunities for me at the time. I literally think it really helped me with my profile. People knew I was a bit more. That's like kind of a an obvious one, but really it's important.
Yeah.
But also it really allowed me to network with some of the leading minds, thought leaders of our time, and to see how they thought about things, how they approach problems, and ask some people to mentor me. And then through that, I really learned a lot, like how to approach a problem, how do I think about the best way of like getting the best outcome, and how do I make sure that I really think about the detail, because the devil's in the detail. Absolutely, or how do I make sure that I add benefits, not just in the output, but throughout the process? How do I make sure that the business case is robust in a way, learning from, the projects that haven't been so successful by having those really high level strategic conversations with people who think like that as their day to day, and as a graduate, I think I was selected when I was a year out of university, like having that kind of amazing access, it was like a hyperdrive for my development. I just started to think in a more robust way, more strategically, high level, but also thinking about the detail in a different way than I think I would have if I'd not had that opportunity. And of course I got to work on incredible things, like I was part of the steering group for the State of the Nation on infrastructure, investment. And I don't know if anyone knows about things like the PFIs and how the different models work. Like no one my age would have known that. And I was like, I know stuff now. And it was really insightful, but also really important. For example, working on being part of one of the steering groups for the In Plain Sight, which is a report that you might be aware of, that was looking at reducing the risk of infrastructure failure. And it was issued, or at least proposed to be done, by Tim Broad when he was president of the IC, in light of Grenfell Towers, to really see what we could do as engineers to make sure that we didn't have another incident like that we really understood our asset management, that we could get that golden thread throughout our information management, some of the stuff that we talk about in BIM, like really drive for that better change, that more improvement, to empower engineers to ask questions, to do better. And being part of that and working on the CPD theme and doing some of the research, pulling some of the ideas together was insightful. It helped me to think in a way that I don't think lots of people get the opportunity to do. And honestly, it's all about thinking, because I think you've got to sometimes learn to think in a certain way, or learn to think outside of your box.
That's right.
And working on those 2 projects, and even going on trips with the president. I mean, I went to Dublin with him on a presidential trip, like learning from him as we're sitting waiting for our plane, and all this kind of conversations were like, they sow the seed that I think has grown and has helped my development. And I wouldn't be the same without it. So it was hugely pivotal for me becoming who I am today as well. So I absolutely recommend it to anyone, because it goes on every year with a new president.
Absolutely,
a new president coming up, and he's great. He's been a mentor of mine, and he's brilliant. Ed's a genius. So if you really want to go for the scheme, I would really recommend anyone apply. It's transformative.
And also, you're one of the ICE's water superheroes, named Eco Warrior.
I know, I was Eco Angel before, but they didn't change it.
That's right.
I think I preferred Eco Angel, to be fair, but I'll take Eco Warrior.
Can you explain what this initiative is, and why it's so important to get this message out?
I love it. First of all, I just have to go sidebar on this. Like, I just think it's so important that people recognize that engineers are superheroes. I've known we're superheroes since I was 9, but the rest of the world can now recognize that we are the supreme superheroes. As a Marvel and DC nerd, an absolute comic book super nerd, I was so enamored when they reached out to me to be Eco Angel and now Eco Warrior. And I think it's so important. I mean, from Bazalgette to Dagan and Ireland, like engineers throughout the world have shaped and transformed their communities. They literally are the heart of everything. I always ask when I go out to schools to do STEM outreach, how did you get here today? Tell me about your day, what you've done from when you're woken up to how you got here. And it's an engineer that's at the heart of everything. And that's why that campaign matters so much. It reminds people, like from Bazalgette, Captain Sanitation, to Kate Khan and all the amazing other superheroes. It just reminds people what we do is so important to the world around us, and it hopefully inspires other young people, maybe 9, 10, 11 or whatever age, that maybe they will want to pick up the gauntlet and be a superhero too, by doing something supreme as embarking on an engineering and civil engineering and changing the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So do you think it's important for younger engineers to become members of engineering institutions? And what do you think the benefits are of doing that?
Well, engineers have come together and discussed and shared ideas from the start. I mean, that's how it started. It was like a coffee shop, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Chatting and sharing ideas. I think it's important because we don't want to work in silos. We want to share ideas and lessons learned. And, the world of engineering is facing huge challenge. We've got climate change, which is just, it's gnashing at us. It's like we have to solve this issue, and you know what, we're the best equipped to do it. But we won't do it in silos of our organizations or individuals. We'll do it working collaboratively, and that's what the institutions do. They offer CPD, they offer amazing talks that allow us to really improve our knowledge. They offer a network of amazing developed, just people I look at, I'm like, wow, that mind blows my mind. And you get to speak to them, and you also pick something up and you develop, and maybe in the future someone will say, you blow my mind. And that's what it does. It allows us to also have that I like to call it the conveyor belt, I guess. That's an engineering term. Conveyor belt. So those ahead of us can kind of lead the way for those who are coming back, so that they're passing on knowledge is being transferred, and that also responsibility for who's going to look after our future is being instilled, from the very, very first day out of university, when you really start thinking about membership of the institution. So I think it's really important for that, the collaborations, the working together, which is the heart of what we do. Engineers don't work in silos. It's very rare. And also just to make sure that pipeline of future thought leaders and engineers who can tackle the challenge, who can lobby government, who can advise on policy, who can say this is what the country needs, this is what the world needs, and this is how we should best. It needs that. So that's why I think it's so important, and that's why I'm so proud to be a chartered member and be the teacher. It's awesome.
Do you also think companies have got a big role to play as well in pushing and promoting the ICE and other engineering institutes? Because a lot of companies don't really push it because of the membership fees and all the rest of it, and it's individuals that put themselves forward. So do you think it's important that companies get more involved?
I totally agree. In fact, thinking about it, I think the minimum requirement that I would expect every company is that they pay for every single member, grad member, whatever level of their membership, they pay for that membership fee. That should be minimum requirement. No, there's no negotiation. That's a minimum requirement. But what I would even love to see to make real change, and to also create more diversity in those who are getting involved, because I think those are getting involved are those who are a bit, people always put their hands up first. I know about you, sat at the front of the class. I don't know, like always put, the extra hours and the extra effort, and that's great. I'm great, you're great. Everyone who gets hands up first is great. But to really make real change, we need all the ideas. And there's some people who are living out more in the world, because they leave work and they actually experience more of the world. They just spend their evenings on an IC committee. So they have also really great insight to bring, because they're living in the world, in the communities, and they actually probably can pick up some of the things. And also they're probably a little bit less involved, which is a good thing, because we all know the problem that comes with groupthink. So I think that we need to have a way of having those less active people have capacity to get involved. And do you know how it gets done? When organizations give time for it. You talk about CPD organizations. I don't know about your organization, but I'd love to see an organization that puts in actual time that's bookable. It's not just about your utilization being super high, but it's about actually, we prioritize this CPD time. It's yours. I don't want it's yours. I also want to see, I don't know, 2 hours of involvement in the IC every month. It doesn't have to be much, and I don't think it would actually be a detriment to organizations, because if you saw the value of the institution, if you saw the value of the links and the networks you make and the ideas you have, and once you've gone to a meeting and someone said something and planted the seed, sometimes that grows and you develop it in your organization to something that is hugely profitable for you. So sometimes you just need to make the initial investment, and that is what I would actually be my call to action for organizations. Put the time there, show that you care about it, and then allow your staff to really engage with it. I don't think it should be the onus that everyone spends their time outside of work, because that's actually exclusionary. People have young families, or people taking career breaks, or whatever. I think there's so many scenarios that makes that unachievable.
Yeah.
And I want to see an organization, an institution that thrives because it has all the amazing people involved
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
ways
Yeah.
that they can be, in a way that's made possible for them without those barriers to entry, which means, I don't know, you have to want to give up every evening, or
Yeah.
what it can feel like to those on the outside looking in. And I don't want that. That's actually not going to allow us to solve the problems of the day and collaborate and share those ideas cross organization, and break out of our silos and really achieve some greatness, which is kind of what we need to do. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
a central crisis.
Yeah. No, that is a great view. That's a really important point that made there. So thank you for that. So what advice would you give to somebody who was looking into a career into the engineering industry?
Well, I do a happy dance first. Yay! You're thinking about it. Great step.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'd advise them to try and get some work experience, to find out about it from talks, podcasts. It's always really useful to actually find out what niche you might like, or what things might appeal to you. And I also like to actually figure out if it's something that they'd enjoy. And I always say that because, a lot of what we do is so important, has huge value. But like I said, there's a process, and you have to check if you're going to enjoy the process. I think people should do things that they'll love. I think it makes a big difference. So find out something that you'll actually love doing. So make sure you love it. Find a pathway that works for you. Look for a space in it that works for you as well. I mean, it could be a contractor, you could be a consultant, you could be a client, you could go into project management, you could be a designer, you could be a bridge engineer. I mean, look at it. So many options.
I know.
So look at online courses that might help you make some decisions on what you might like best, and just do it to the end of the day. If you think you're going to enjoy it, and you think that this is for you, and this is how you're best going to serve the world, make your contribution, then do it. Because I think it's really admirable. It's one of the best careers in the world, I think.
Yeah, and once you get into it, you can diversify into other things if you're not enjoying where you are, can't you? There's loads of places to move to, isn't there?
Exactly. I think just do it. It's a great starting point. But look into it as well. Information is just everything. I think the more you know, it's really good. But also don't be paralyzed by that information and not get involved. And just remember, like, I don't know, some people have such an idea of what an engineer can be like, but it can be anyone. It can be you. So don't let that put you off, and don't think that you don't fit the mold, whatever that supposed mold is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I know you do lots of outreach work for STEM, promoting engineering to younger people. Why do you think it's important for us as STEM professionals to engage with younger people?
Because we need to build a pipeline, because the future needs engineers, and climate change. No, I think it's an obvious one, because there's so many challenges that require an engineering mindset. It's water resources. I mean, I worry about that with climate change, water resources. That's going to be a huge one. With droughts, how are we going to manage water best? What's this going to mean for social, economic issues? I mean, it's going to have huge repercussions in the world. It isn't just an engineering thing. When I talk about climate change, I think people think about the technicality of it, but actually it affects society and people. And it affects people, and therefore it needs the most diverse group of people to solve the problem, because it could be your community that's most at risk in some ways. I mean, we see this all the time. So that's why I think we have this obligation to make sure that we get the best people who will make a difference, who are passionate, who are going to do the work, who are going to collaborate, who are going to communicate, and who are going to make a change to help us solve the biggest problem of humanity's ever, really. I mean, it's the biggest challenge of our time, but I think more than that. So I think when we know that we have this huge challenge and we need great minds to help us solve it, isn't it natural that we would go out into schools and talk to people and say, wow, I do this amazing thing, and I save lives. Do you want to save lives? Do you want to be a superhero? Like, come on. We have to do fighting, and it matters, and that's really important at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what attributes do you think are needed, or skills are needed to become an engineer?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that an engineer can be so many different things, and I never want to narrow it down particularly, because I think that there's, like you said, there's an avenue for every kind of person. When I think of a designer who sits and maybe works hours and is really meticulous, then that's a different kind of person, isn't it? That's a different kind of skill set. That's a different kind of even personality. I mean, I think about Myers-Briggs 5 strengths. how extroverted you are, how introverted you are. There are all these things that can affect what you might like to do best and how your skill set might best, you know, be applicable in engineering.
Yeah.
So is there one skill set? Is there one personality type? Is there one profile, you know, on like, you know, Myers-Briggs or 5 strengths, or I don't know, whichever one you want to do, insights that would suit engineering? I think not. I think at the end of the day, you have to have a desire to make the world different and change, and you want to be like looking at things and saying why and questioning, so an inquisitive mind. And more than that, I think you just have to want to do it. I think that's really important, and maybe it's not spoken about enough, because often we say like everyone can do it, but you actually have to want to do it. That's always good, you know. We talk about, you know, great communication or being good at math maybe, but you know what, it's so much more than any of those things anymore. It's so much you can do, and there's so much you can bring to the table. So I think it's about understanding who you are. It's one of the things that I always say when I go out to schools, like, what are the things that your friends always say you're really good at? You know, especially at that age when friends are more important than parents. You know, what your friends say that you're good at. You know, what would you say that's your best attribute? You know, when do you get the most excited? Like, when are you the most happiest? Now, those are things that you may be good at. Now let's work from that, and let's maybe find how you can have your contribution in the world. And if it could be in the world of STEM and engineering, and it's maybe you're going to be like this great thought leader, and you're going to go and talk to people about the challenges of their time and inspire them, then yes, that's you. Or you're going to be an amazing designer who's going to be meticulous and got like attention to detail that blows my mind, then that's you. And if you're going to be the kind of person who, like, you know, drives people and, you know, tells people, you know, that this is the target, this is the goal, and it's, you know, keeps things productive and organized and structured, and that's you, then there's a space for you. So I think there's a space for everyone, but you've got to understand what your skills are and where they'll be best applicable and where you'll enjoy it as well. Because I think if you have those 3 things, you know, you'll have a career that you really love.
Absolutely. And finally, you know, we all know the importance of promoting engineering to people, getting them engaging in engineering. What would be your message to somebody who has never thought about engineering as a career?
What? I'm joking. It's a joke. It was a joke.
That was very good.
I'm surprised. Everyone thinks engineering. I'm joking. No, honestly, if you've never thought about engineering before, I'd say, you know, have a look at what we do. You know, check the IC's website out. It's like the best website with so many resources. Have a look at that, but also maybe not civils. You know, I'm not going to be annoying anymore. I won't fight with mechanicals or electricals anymore. You know, maybe that's something that excites you. Maybe Formula One, or I don't know, having vehicles that maybe run on a new fuel we've never even thought about. Maybe that's the thing that excites you. So honestly, I'd say, find your passion, find what excites you, and I bet you there's an amazing job in engineering doing that exact thing. You know, engineering is for everyone who's got the desire to solve problems and the questioning mind. And, you know, there's a role for you, just haven't found it yet. So have a look, go to the IC's website, get some work experience, you know, bug some people, you know, ask them to mentor you, have some conversations. You'll find a pathway for you, because engineering is exciting, it's broad, and there's just so much that's in it. And, you know, no day has to look the same. Maybe you do 5 years in one thing, 5 years in another, and you just have a career that just looks so different that you couldn't even believe you were in the same field. I look at it and I'm like, that's like amazing, and that's all engineering. It is. So it's this amazing broad thing. So you'll find a place for yourself in it. So just consider it, you know, like be open-minded. There is no one type of engineer, and there's no one type of mindset. The world is changing. It needs new innovators, new thinkers, and that could be you.
On that brilliant message, Ayu, we'll call it a day there. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been amazing to have you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.